portion, Isa would like to bring up the volunteers who would like to speak about your fears openly, and he wants to work to counsel you through whatever you're facing. And I will just warn you that even though you might say that you have a fear of heights, for example, or you have claustrophobia, he might pull out something else from you. He's going to go by reading your energy and by his intuition. So where that guides us, I can't actually guarantee, but I just translate, remember.
She's just the messenger.
Basically, we will have you come up and sit in the seat here, and we'll get you to start by telling us your fear that you would like to address, and I will channel whatever he has to say to you in that moment. So before we begin that, he's asking, does anybody have any questions or any concerns before we start? Good. Okay. So do we have our first volunteer? Wonderful. Is it Brenda?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we're gonna hot seat now.
I get a hot seat, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you, Brenda. Just give me a second. Okay.
My mother is 86, and she recently came to live with me. She's been with me for a month now. She's in end-stage renal failure and end-stage congestive heart failure. And my fear is losing her. And at the same time, it's a mixed feeling because I don't want to see her suffer anymore either. And it's just a matter of how I'm dealing with it.
And can we get your mom's first name?
Joyce.
He's thanking you for coming up because he's saying that there is, and Janet and I were just talking about this on the break, that there is a commonality in the room with many people having that fear, or having experienced a loss, or being faced with the loss of someone that they love. And so he's thanking you for coming up to offer that, because many people need to understand how to process that and work through it. The first thing he talks about is he's tapping into your mother, and he's just talking about more pain on the left side than the right side, aching throughout the upper body, shoulders, and arms, and upset stomach. So he's just sending her love and healing, and he gets quite emotional because he's saying he feels for her, he feels for the discomfort that she's experiencing now, the physical discomfort. And also, he's saying she's having some compromising in the lungs as well. And he's saying there's nothing worse than having a slow, painful death, is what he's saying, and that's why his heart goes out to her. Because he's saying if it's a quick death, if it's an accident, it's not any better to lose anyone, but to sit and suffer or watch someone suffer is a prolonged torture, is basically what he's saying. He's just saying that for her, it's very important for her to be able to enjoy beautiful scenery. So he's just telling you that one way that you can honor her is to allow her the opportunity to experience that, whether she's watching videos or listening to nature sounds or looking out the window. It helps to get her mind off of the pain and the destitute that she's facing. He's telling you that you have to be very careful, that your love for your mother is very strong, and you're beginning to pick up the emotions and the energy that she's holding, and he doesn't want you to get sick. He says it's not your journey. It's not your journey. You should not be taking it from her. So he's just saying that, there's a misconception that in order to give love, we must give ourselves or sacrifice ourselves. He's saying that's not true, and he wants you to most importantly recognize that you must take care of yourself and then take care of her. He's asking you to think about, if your mom went away on a trip, how would you feel? If she went away to a beautiful space with beautiful scenery, somewhere that she really wanted to go, how would that make you feel towards her? And he's saying that it would be beneficial to you to view her passing and where she's going as a beautiful trip, somewhere that her soul would really like to go to. And if you knew that she was going to be in this beautiful space and no longer have any pain or any worries, how would that make you feel?
Happy.
He's saying then you need to focus on that portion of the energy exchange that's occurring. He's saying that he feels that your fear is rooted in more of the physical, of physically not being able to see her, touch her, enjoy her. And he's saying that's what pictures are for. And
We were just talking about that the other day, because we have thousands of albums and we don't know what to do with them all.
oh, perfect. Well, you'll know basically that'll be the ability to connect with her through the photographs is basically what he's saying. So the photographs, he says, pictures are a wonderful thing because they tell the story of someone's life and the story of who they are.
I've had the feeling lately that my dad passed away many years ago, has been around and was waiting so long. Is that right? Is that true?
Yes. And more people than that. There are many are waiting to greet her. It's like, it will be like a celebration. They're welcoming her home, as he's stating it. And he's saying it's not selfish to want to keep your mom here because you love her. But
I just don't want to see her suffering.
her being
I'd
is
like her to go quickly and quietly and
not going to happen, unfortunately, not quickly and quietly. According to him, he says she selected to go out in a more painful way, but that you have to honor that that's her choice, that's her soul's desire. He's asking, oh gosh, is it restless? Uncomfortable energy, so he's just reacting to it. He's asking us now to focus for a moment on your mother. Joyce, you said Joyce. And so us as a group, he's asking for us to send Joyce love so that any fear that she holds about passing will be diminished, much like we did earlier. So if everyone would like to close their eyes for a moment and just focus on the name Joyce and project love to her being.
We're not done with you.
So now he'd like to address you.
Okay.
He's asking you, what do you envision your life like after your mother crosses?
Sad, but relieved.
And he's saying, what is it that you are missing now, that you are sacrificing yourself in order to give time and energy to your mother? What are you missing?
We just talked about this on the way down. Peace and quiet in my house again.
Mothers have a way of
Yeah. Yeah.
entertaining us.
My house is in turmoil right now. It's become a hospital.
Right. So this is his point is you're missing you. You're missing
My
giving
time,
to
yeah.
you and loving yourself. We often put ourselves on the back burner when we're assisting or caring for someone else, whether that be a person or an animal. And he's saying the neglect that you're projecting to the self is something that you need to address right now before she crosses, because you're not doing her or yourself any justice in neglecting yourself. He says you have to be careful. You don't want to be lying beside her. It's not your time to go.
I feel that way sometimes.
Mhm. So he's saying, if you realize that it's her journey to go, and there's people waiting for her, she's going to a beautiful place, and she will no longer be in pain, and you realize that you will feel free and be able to give to the self and love the self more so, and have more peace in your life, then what is the negative in any of that? He's saying it's very important for you to have a conversation with your mother and thank her for all that she has provided for you, and come from the space, right now you're coming from the space of the caregiver, the supporter, and sit with your mom for a moment and be the little girl. And this is all he feels that you're missing now, is just a chance for your little girl to sit with her mom and have a moment of love with her mother. So ask for what you need from her. You need her love. And there's nothing wrong with that. So. And this is your last opportunity to receive that from her. But you will not receive that if you do not ask. Do you understand what he means by that?
I do, because I am the caregiver 24/7, and I miss my mom being a mom.
Yeah.
So ask her for it before she goes, and that will, he's saying that will complete what you need in your heart. And so he's just asking everybody if we can just for a moment send Brenda love to fill her up with positive. So we'll take a moment to do that. Good, and if we can all just take a deep breath in and then exhale slow.
Is this around? Highly recommend.
And he's saying there's nothing better on this planet than sharing love through a hug. So he would like to just sit with you for a second. That's okay.
Stuck.
There we go. So he just wants just 2 seconds with you, if you don't mind.
Come here, baby.
This is the way he gives healing, so he just wants to lick your nose. It's an odd thing, but this is what he does to give love.
They don't need my face wash. Precious. I'm really getting this with you.
He's giving you lots of love and healing, and once you laugh, then he will feel that you're at the space that you need to. So he's just saying, let go.
Do you like my makeup?
That's after his face wash.
I'm done.
How you? Wonderful. Thank Good, that's perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. That was very wonderful of you. Brave.
Not a happy topic, but
No, but it's honest.
the kisses are good.
We've got to have some reward and all that.
Yeah.
That's the way that he gives healing, is he likes to kiss the nose.
I think it's so important to think of death as going home, because really that's where probably our spirits spend more time
Yes,
than
definitely.
here. We come here as for an education to evolve our spirits.
Absolutely, those are wise
We
words.
plan everything that happens to us, really.
So if we're planning everything that happens to us, then why is it so difficult for us to accept?
I think it's because we forget when you're in the physical and you're in a lower vibration, you forget all of the things that you knew in a higher vibration.
Yes, you forget and you don't trust.
That's right.
Yeah.
I think trust is, not trusting yourself is really a basis for fear, isn't it?
And fear takes over again.
Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
really the fear. of loss. You know, what do you
And
do?
what that will do to us, or what that means, because there's no confirmation and understanding exactly what happens.
I know when I lost my father died last, that you feel like an orphan. You know, it's
Abandonment.
a very strange feeling if any of you have lost all your parents, that all of a sudden that attachment to your mother and father is no longer there in a physical way where you can go and reach them and touch them and talk to them. They really are in a better place in so many ways.
Isa says that when someone crosses, they are really the ones who are the lucky ones, because they go to peace and love. We are the ones who suffer, and yet we worry about them, and they worry about us. Yeah.
That's right.
And he says it's very important that when someone crosses, that we honor them by taking care of ourselves. And oftentimes we choose to initiate suffering or stand in suffering. And there is no need for that. That we stand in love for ourselves, we honor the person or the animal who was crossed.
And it's an honor for them if you let them go,
Absolutely.
and that they know that before they go.
Forgiveness of them and the self is very important, he's saying. And not to expect anything of yourself other than giving yourself love. So that's more advice for you. He says he's so honored that all of you are experiencing this with him, and that you're engaging in his need to speak about this. And he's just, his heart is opening because he feels so much love.
Can I volunteer? now?
Absolutely.
Because getting back to my father, who is deceased now, but it even goes back further to my mother, because my mother died when I was 32. And I was in the home when she had a heart attack, and I had a 19-month-old at the time. And when I went into the room and she said to me, I went to the bed and she had her hand on her chest and she said, Marilyn, I don't think I'm going to make it. And I said, Mom, you'll be okay, you'll be fine. And then, of course, I phoned the ambulance and the police and my dad, and they all went zooming off to the hospital, and I was left trying to find a neighbor to look after my little boy. And so when I got to the hospital, she had already passed. And so I had such, even now, such a feeling of guilt because I denied knowing that she had died, that she was telling me she was dying. And I denied it. So for so many years I just felt so terribly guilty of that. Gosh, I'm crying about it. It's been like, you don't have any 37 years. But when my father died, it was really peaceful because I got all the family there and we were all around the bed, and every time I would leave the room, I held his hand. And when I left the room, my son, who was 14 at the time, would come running back and say, Mom, you better get back here because he's going. Because they had the monitor on him. And so I'd go back and I'd hold his hand and his heart rate would go right back up to normal. And finally, after about 8 hours, because I knew he was draining me energetically, I leaned over and before that, though, I should say that we were all reminiscing about our family experiences and laughing and so on. And of course, when they're in a coma, they can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very peaceful experience. But in order for me to sort of massage my guilt with my mother, I leaned over to my dad. It was about 9:30 at night. And I kissed him on the forehead and I said, tell Mom I love her, that I'm sorry I didn't say the right goodbye. And it's time for you to go. And we just watched his heart monitor just go like that, and it passed. And the nurses all came in and they said it was the most peaceful
Oh,
thing.
wow.
But it allowed me to get rid of it. To a degree, I think it must be coming back out again.
No, I think that's the beauty of the experience.
It was a beautiful experience. It really was.
Issa's saying that to recognize that both your parents gave you a gift of experience in different situations.
Oh, yeah.
And that your mom sacrificed, and you sacrificed, to understand how it feels to have someone leave without being able to truly say goodbye. And what we feel, our ego feels, is important. And then you experience the opposite with your father as a balance. So if you recognize that the first occurred so that you would enjoy the second.
So touching.
Mm.
And it was such a growth. I mean, really, it is a spiritually, emotional growth for you as you experience it. So even there, though there's a tremendous amount of pain and a loss in your ego, it does allow your soul to advance and to understand more about life around you, really.
And appreciation of
And
life.
appreciation of life, that's right.
And he's saying that it's important in your story for all of us to recognize that when someone passes, it's our humanness or our ego that suggests we need to be present to say goodbye. But if the soul transfers into energy, can we not just say goodbye in any given moment at any given time?
Right. I've learned that now. But it was painful going through it.
It's a sacrifice to learn, is basically what he's saying. You experienced a sacrifice and your mom experienced a sacrifice so that you could learn and evolve, which is what he wants you to look at as it being the gift that she gave you. And so it's important to honor that in her.
Thank you for giving me a different perspective.
He says he doesn't want to let you off the hook because there's more he needs to dig out
I'm
from you.
sure there is. Oh, yes.
He says your true fear is the fear of now he's going to make me cry because he's showing me the emotion of the unknown of what is coming forward and the separation of you and your child. Not that he's suggesting that your child is going anywhere, but that the fear of losing your child or abandoning your child is more pronounced in your body than anything else. Can we have your son's name?
I have two sons. Jeffrey is far away. He's in Fort McMurray. Do you want my other son's name too? Gregory.
Who's the youngest?
Jeffrey.
That's the one. There is a connection to a past life and abandonment from a past life.
Oh my God.
And he's just telling you that your body is reacting to that in a physical way. And that you need to recognize, and he's telling you, that history won't repeat itself. You've come together in this life to stay together.
Wow.
And his distance from you is just a challenge, a test of your faith. He's saying that because you're fearing the separation and the abandonment with Jeffrey, that you're preventing yourself from moving forward. You're standing still in fear, so that you're not moving forward, because you want to be present and available for whatever he may need, but your physical body is reacting. And if you can let go and trust that everything will be okay, that you won't be leaving him and he won't be leaving you, then you will get better. And if you embrace your life and what you need for yourself, much like we have just already described, if you just love and honor yourself and do what you need to for you, everything will be entirely different and everything will be much more positive and better. At this rate, with the harboring of the fears that you have, you're causing stress on your heart.
All that.
And there's no better way to heal the self than to let go. Let go and let be, he's saying. Love the self. Honor the self. Trust that all is exactly as it is meant to be, and it will continue to be that way. And he's saying, thank you for coming up to show everyone this concept. And it's important to realize that no matter if you dig your heels in and you try to stop life from happening, it still happens. And you can either process and go through it with love and joy, or with pain and suffering. You choose, that's the free will. When you embrace yourself with love, you heal yourself. And there's no need for you to suffer from anything from the past. That's not love, he says. We have to forgive ourselves for the choices that we've made when we didn't know any better, or when we were incapable. And it's easy to love yourself when you think you're doing everything right and everything good. And it's difficult to love yourself when you make mistakes and your choices result in things that are less positive. And that's truly the test of loving the self. He says you're greatly loved by many people around you, and everyone who knows you enjoys to be in your light, but you have to be careful because you don't think highly enough of yourself to keep enough energy for yourself. And that's very important because you cannot assist anyone without assisting yourself first. He's just saying we always fear what hasn't occurred because we fear it coming, but as we do so, we miss the present moment. And that's what's happening with you. You're missing your life. You're missing every beautiful moment of every day. And the fear is stealing that from you. And he says you need to empower yourself and recognize that you're deserving of joy and love in every moment, and choose with your free will that that's exactly what you're going to experience. And he says, do not be worried or fearful of the judgment of others. Sorry, his words, he's saying, screw them. It's not their life. You do what you need to for you. And he please just say we would like to rest by giving you love.